Oh, are we live? Hello, everybody. I need to put different glasses on my head for someone who does not wear glasses. I wear a lot of glasses. I have to switch from my computering glasses to my drawing glasses. I don't wear glasses to just like walk around and interact. I'm also photosensitive, so staring at a computer screen hurts my brain, and trying to work on tiny little drawings hurts my brain too. So there we are. So yeah, I'm working on this piece tonight. I'm going to be inking it. It is an illustration for In the Footsteps of Hercules, a game sourcebook, a D&D sourcebook from Skirmisher. All the content for it is, like, all writing part of it is done, but we're just finishing up a handful of my illustrations to call it well and truly done. I think there's like a couple of maps that my colleague Will Thrasher is working on as well. But like all of the, like, you could run anything from it at this point. All the game stuff is written and released, I'm pretty sure. At the very least, like the PDF is out, and a lot of the content that'll be in the final updated PDF is available on Skirmisher's website and that sort of thing. But the like physical books obviously can't be done until Will and I are done with our work. Last I heard, Will was still finishing up, and it wasn't just me. It might just be me at this point. But I am pushing to finish this up as quickly as possible so we can all move on with our lives. So I'm starting as I usually do when I'm inking, with using tools, straight edges, and French curves, and that sort of thing. Rocking it a little bit here along the straight edge so that it's not a perfectly arrow straight line. Give it a little bit of character still so it looks kind of like rough stone still. Got these little pillars here. It's very ominous entrance. One thing that's been really fun with this project is that obviously I'm kind of an art history dork because I went to art school, and a big part of getting an accredited art degree is taking a crap load of art history. I had to take so many art history classes to get my degree, even though my degree was in comics. It was like, well, you still got to learn about all the art history, even if it's not comics related. I did also have to take comics art history. That was a separate course that I also had to take in order to get my degree. But I also just had to take like a crap load of general art history. And granted, I wouldn't say it was like the most comprehensive art history education. I mean, like, so I had to take like 5 different art history courses in order to graduate, not including the one for my major. Like, not including the history of comics one, just like 5 general art history classes. But each class at SCAD, where I got my art degree, was only, like, we didn't do semesters, we did quarters. So the classes only lasted 10 weeks instead of 16 weeks. And, like, for example, Survey of Art History 1, one of the mandatory classes everyone had to take, that Survey 1 class lasted 10 weeks and covered prehistory, like cave paintings and the Woman of Willendorf and all of that kind of stuff. Prehistory to the Renaissance. 10 weeks. 10 weeks to cover the majority of human history, human and pre-human history, in art. And then Survey of Art History 2, again, 10 weeks, and we covered the Renaissance to the mid-19th century. Sure. And then finally, the last one that everyone had to take was 20th century art, where it was called 20th century art. We did actually cover like the latter half of the 19th century through to not even quite the present. I think we got up to like maybe the like late 80s, early 90s, if that. And that was it. That was also 10 weeks. That's all you got. So I wouldn't say I had a comprehensive art history education, but I got a lot of it. Oh, and then the other one, like you had to take 2 electives. And I took one that was truly amazing, fascinating class. Actually, both were truly amazing, fascinating classes. I got really lucky with my electives because I know some people took their art history electives ended up being like something that sounded vaguely interesting on paper or just was the only fit into their class schedule. And they were like, yeah, I guess I'll go with it. And the classes ended up being absolutely terrible. So I got very lucky. I took one class that was Great Masters Materials and Techniques. So this was like how people make art during like pre-industrial era. How did they make their art supplies? What were the techniques that they used? That class was hella fascinating. There was a whole lot of just learning about how people made paint, like or like made stained glass, like just also built epic stone structures before you had heavy machinery. Like it was a really awesome class. Really enjoyed that. And then I took another one that was history of world architecture and urbanism, and it was basically by world architecture. What they just meant was non-Western. So got to learn about African architecture and Asian architecture and South American and Native American architecture, and it was just really, really fascinating course. That was really cool too. But anyway, that was an extremely long sidetrack to get to the point that one thing that's been really cool with this project is because I'm an art history dork, and my colleague Mike Varhola, who wrote In the Footsteps of Hercules and has been giving me the art direction on this, is also pretty serious art history dork, is that we've actually used this project to do a bunch of like homages to different art history stuff, like different famous pieces of artwork or even just pieces of artwork that we like or think are interesting. So there's been like a couple of really neat ways that we've kind of incorporated that. I don't know what's wrong with my focus. Why do I look so blurry? Let me see if I can fix that. I don't know why my image looks so blurry. Sorry. Let me see if I can fix this. Let me see if my camera software will cooperate and allow me to fix this, because I don't think YouTube is going to do anything to let me fix it. Goodness. Goodness. Oh, there we go. I fixed it. You can actually see what I'm doing. I'm a professional. Sorry about that. So a really cool thing that we've gotten to do is we've gotten to do a lot of like homages to history, like famous art history pieces, and this piece is one of them. So this is supposed to be the characters, the different things that he did, visiting their pilgrims, visiting different places along the quest, and it's really which is a really cool thing. Sorry, I was concentrating there for a second and my mouth turned off. But this is the Stygium is the entrance, and it's all super creepy. And this is an homage to a famous art piece, not the one by Geiger. Geiger's was also an homage to an older art piece. So, but if you recognize it, if you're like, that looks really familiar, you're right. It does look really familiar. It is a thing that already existed elsewhere. Right, I'm going to work on these little characters in their boat. We've been playtesting this scenario as Mike has been developing it, which is cool. Oh, there's my hair getting in camera. Hello, there's my face. Hi. It's been a really fun campaign, and we're almost to the end. I mean, it'll be kind of sad when we end. I mean, it'll be cool because it's cool to actually, like, finish a campaign instead of it just petering out for whatever reason. But we've been working on it for quite some time, so it'll kind of be like, oh, we're done. I can't even hardly believe it. It's been really fun because it's kind of like, you know, there's been some combat, but that's really not been the focus, which it usually is in D&D games. So get all the little details of these little people in their boat. Ah, ha, ha. Oh, and I'm going to almost knock over my ink. That's not a good plan. Wow, Abderos got a sassy butt going on there. Abderos is this character who is constantly getting naked every time he encounters a physical challenge. His answer is to get naked. My colleague Brenda Cass plays this character, and she has determined that his reaction to everything, every kind of challenge, is all right, time to get naked. Which is a very, very silly thing that keeps making us giggle. Not like in the middle of a fight, obviously, but if it's like, oh, you gotta do some kind of like physical test of skill or metal or whatever. All right, Abderos gets naked. Yes, we get it. The ancient Greeks used to like compete in sporting events naked, but Abderos, put your clothes on. It's just become like one of those running gags in our campaign. Some water behind here. Let's see, where else do I still need to do straight edges? I have a few more straight edges I need to do up here. Let's go ahead and work on those. Tiny little windows. in this strange structure. All right. And some more of these. It's like an underground water cave thingamy. To decide where exactly I want where I want the darkness to come in. I think we're gonna do, I think right there is gonna be all dark. I think I'm gonna do a little bit of this technique worked pretty well in a piece I did previously. That'll be all dark. Gonna have that be all dark. So those little X's are to tell myself to come back with my brush and fill them in as spot blacks. That's the idea. Fill in these little windows black. And the idea is that this will all be getting darker, which I'll do with the coloring back into this big, ominous dark space in the center here. So that right there is all black. Raw. All right, reducing kind of thing here, where some of this is also black to kind of build toward that. Okay, so I'll have to come in and fill those in as well. Hopefully I remember them all. I'll do a similar kind of thing over here. There we go. Build up some more of those shadows and rock textures. These ones are a little further out front, so they're going to get a thicker line to draw them forward. Ooh. I'm also going to fill in black. This may look a little bit goofy even when I'm done inking it, just because it is ultimately colored on the computer, so sometimes the inking on something that you intend to do a lot of the rendering in color for just looks a little odd, because it's like some of the information that you would expect to see is missing because it's going to come in on the colors later. There we go. Wow, this is not taking me very long to get through. It's a fairly straightforward image, so we'll see how long I end up running on this, because I may not actually last the entire hour until I get this thing done. It may be done well before then. We will see. We will see what I get up to. Alright, that area. So I gotta figure out the water, though. That might take me a minute. Okay. mostly the water and those spot blacks I have left at this point. So let's see. I think I wanted this. I got this ink in. I'm going to cap it so that I can show you the label without spilling it all over what I'm drawing. I got this ink in an art supply subscription box recently. What's the name of it? I forget. Royal Talons. Royal Talons. I like it. I'm 10. It barely fits in. I may need to just transfer it to one of my old larger ink bottles because that is a major pain in the butt. Because then I'm also getting the nib holder all dirty, and my hands all covered in ink as well. I mean, not that they don't get covered in ink anyway, but more so than usual. I already know I'm going to be a wreck. We don't need to make it worse. The water's all going to be pretty dark. That's all going to be black over there. Let's see. I'm trying to give it that only just barely disturbed water look, which I know it looks very insane right now because I haven't put black there yet. So it's just what are all these crazy lines you're doing, woman? Hopefully it makes a little more sense once I have more of this filled in. That's what I'm hoping anyway. Hopefully I can actually make this cold water. Maybe possibly. Get some more of these long lines. So there's it's not a It's not a completely like smooth as glass surface, but it's pretty calm. That's the idea. Okay, so we got to work on this crazy edge of the darkness situation. Also, my toes are freezing. It is freezing. It is freezing here. I live in Maine. We got our first snowfall this morning. I don't even think it was in the forecast. Because I usually check the weather so that it can't give me unpleasant surprises when I first wake up. And so that I don't plan to do things on days where they will not be possible because of the weather. And I'm pretty sure it was not in the forecast because I woke up and I was like, why is there snow? Why did this happen? I was not expecting this. I don't believe it's going to stick. A good portion of it already melted today. But we had snow and it's cold. My little toes are cold over here. I'm at the opposite end of the house from the thermostat. So it's always 10 degrees colder in here than it is in the rest of the house. I have a whole bunch of big windows too, which is really nice for doing artwork during the daytime. And it's a nice view and everything, but it does not hold heat super well. All right, so I'm gonna start doing my spot blacks now, which means I need to grab a brush because right now all I have at hand is a pen. Break out my brush, my trusty Winsor Newton Series 7 Kolinsky brush. Oh, I overloaded that a little bit. Whoops. Let's get some of that off there. Let's get this triangle out of here. I'm done with you. You don't need to be here right now. Start filling those lines in, filling in these big spot blacks. Hopefully the effect should start looking a little bit more like I want it to as I start doing this. So I like at the Royal Talons, it's advertised as a matte black ink, and I do like how very matte it is, but I think part of why it's so matte is because it is soaking into the paper a fair amount. It's a little on the liquidy side. I had some problems with it being a little bit bleedy too, with certain combinations of nibs and paper, because I think it's just a little bit more watery than the Winsor Newton Permanent India, which is what I normally use. It is very nice and matte. The Winsor Newton Permanent India does sometimes have a little bit of a sheen to it. I think it's got a certain amount of shellac or something in the recipe. I don't know, because it's not like they have to tell you what's in art supplies. But Winsor Newton also kind of sits on top of the paper a little bit better, and this stuff does seem to seep in a little more. So I end up with a few more of these kind of gray spots, right there where it sunk in a little bit and got kind of light, which I don't really like. I'm kind of thinking I might use this in my pens because it seems to flow better with my pens. And I might stick with the Winsor Newton India for brushwork, where I want to get a nice thick matte line. Well, not necessarily matte. A nice thick dark line. Because yeah, this is the Winsor Newton is not as matte as this is, but well, it's kind of why I I decided to try art subscription box, because like you get to a certain point where like I have found my art supply. This is the thing I use. I shall never experiment or stray. It's good to be able to produce consistent results. It's not good to never experiment or try new things, I guess is my point. That still looks kind of goofy without any of the coloring, but maybe you're starting to get the idea now, at least. There was another cave illustration I did for this project, where it was like a cave with like an underground and a little pool, and there was like a little, almost like garden of different plants growing around this pool in this cave. That was a fun piece, and it was kind of the same kind of deal, where there was one very small bright light source in an otherwise very dark area, and the inking on that one also looked a little goofy because the coloring really informed how that played out. Whoop. Probably will only be a couple of days until this is also colored, so. There's the big terrifying in the middle of the image. Dun dun dun. They approach the entrance to the underworld. Dun, dun, dun. So spooky. I actually don't know now at this point in the campaign in our playtest. So I should be finding out soon what happens. Fill in my little doorway. Couple spot blacks left, and then I'm going to be done with this. So this did not take me as long as I anticipated. Oh well. I guess having a shorter stream is not like the worst thing. I promise next week I'll have something that will take the whole hour. So I'm almost done, so I'll go ahead and start talking about my things. I'm Amanda Call. This is my channel. You should subscribe to it if you like watching videos of me doing artwork, sometimes with me talking, sometimes not. I do some instructional type videos. I do a weekly live stream here. Right now I'm doing Tuesday evenings at 8-ish. Subject to change depending on the level of chaos going on with the rest of my life. You can also check out my webcomic, which updates every Wednesday. That's ageofnight.com, AGEOFNIGHT. Sometimes I'm working on those pages down the stream. Not always, though, as you can see. This is for a product called In the Footsteps of Hercules, which is done by Skirmisher Publishing. You can check it out on their website, skirmisher.com. What else? You can follow me on social media, on Twitter at Age of Night, and on Instagram at Amanda Call Art. And you can support me on Patreon if you want to be super awesome. So that's patreon.com/Age of Night. And either way, I appreciate you watching. It's cool. Do the video liking and subscribing and telling people about how much fun it is to watch me draw things and listen to me ramble. All right, so it looks like we're only like 40-ish minutes, but I got it all inked. I think that's going to do it. So this is going to be the main light source right here, and you can see that things are dark on the peripheries and dark further back, and then coloring is going to enhance that, where these, like this forward edges of these buildings are going to be very bright, and the people in the boat are going to be fairly bright, and the water around them is going to have a lot of reflections on it, and then everything's going to get darker the further away it goes. That's the idea. So watch my Instagram. I'll post an update of it. Instagram and Twitter. Watch those, and I'll post an update when I get it done. So yeah, thanks everybody for coming and hanging out, and I guess I'll see you next time. Bye.